organization.
Ask away. Ask any questions. You start, and I'll help you.
Okay, the first thing, what is the name of your organization?
The name is Teccho, with double C, so Teccho.
And why
Stands for
Stands for?
the English Cafe Club humanitarian organization.
Okay. And how long are you living here in Colombia?
Me? 5 years. 5 years this month.
Okay, and now you...
Well, okay, I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Felipe Jaramillo. I'm also an modern languages student, and I founded Teccho alongside Ian, and also the English Cafe Club. And the English Cafe Club was meant to be a space for students that speak English, mainly from the University of Quindío, but really everybody that just wants to practice English. And it was meant to be a space to practice activities, learning culture, and different kinds of things, but like along those lines. And at the beginning, the English Cafe Club was a service that was free of any charge for students, because me and Ian have been educators a long time ago, and we just wanted to provide a educating service, basically. And then, as a project, one of Ian's students and me started doing some research on homeless people. And quickly, while the project was advancing, they discovered that they needed an awful lot of adjectives to describe homeless people, namely dirty, lonely, hopeless, and oh my gosh, So that's how they got the idea of starting Teccho, a humanitarian organization that helps the homeless people in the Quindío region. And then I joined it once the project was somewhat established. That's pretty much like a summary of the story of Teccho.
I had a practical problem because I was working in English, and when I started to want to talk to or write official letters to politicians, my student wasn't able to write formal English for me, so I needed Felipe to translate everything that we were doing into formal Spanish, because he's bilingual and he can say anything I can say in English, he can say in Spanish. So I needed him desperately to help me with all of my formal presentations and proposals to the local government.
What exactly does your organization do?
Well, in Spanish we say luchando por los indigentes, so we're fighting for homeless people. And really, at the moment, that's exactly what we are doing. We're just trying to fight for them, give them a voice, tell people what they need, and stop the number of them growing. That's the biggest problem. We've calculated there are 2 new homeless people every day. 2. Now, 2 doesn't sound much, but that means a week ago there were 14 less, and next week there will be 14 more. So when we started there were just 500, and now there are 1,200. So next year there will be 2,000. The problem is growing and growing and growing, and this problem doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. It just happens in Colombia. There are poor people in Africa, yes, but they don't have this crazy situation where you have modern cities with people driving around in cars and big commercial shopping centres and people sleeping on the street. That only seems to happen in Colombia. We're doing something wrong here. We are maybe not educating our children enough. Maybe our children are not respecting their parents enough. Maybe we don't control drugs enough. Maybe we need more social services to help these people when they do have a problem. And things like being strict about minimum wage. I know there are people signing their nominas at 540,000 and they're receiving 200,000, they're receiving 300,000, and they say, hey, you don't like it? we find somebody else. So maybe that we have to look at everything. It's not just one solution. There are many solutions, but we have to start now.
And how does your organization help those people?
By giving them a voice. Really, at the moment, by giving them a voice, because we don't have respect for them. That's the problem they have. They are like, actually they are lower than dogs. We treat dogs better here than we treat homeless people. Look, the dogs come walk in and out of here, and people go, he's sweet, he's cute. A homeless person walks through here, and everybody would look and be disgusted. So we have to speak on their behalf. Yeah.
The thing is that, okay, the central part of our organization is a project that we have named Project Armenia. Our plan of action, stated in Project Armenia, is to attack the problem from many different angles, right? We are thinking in terms of rehabilitation, social rehabilitation, for example, drug rehabilitation, substance dependency rehabilitation, and just basically it can be summarized as giving the homeless their life back, And Ian and me have talked about, the indigentes problem in Colombia, and I've always said that there's a flaw in our culture, in our Colombian culture, and that flaw is indifference, I don't know where it comes from, but everybody seems to be infected by it, It's some kind of social disease. We just don't notice these problems, Maybe it's because we've grown up, amongst homeless people all our lives, and in a way we have become used to seeing them on the streets, For us, they're not as important. They're more important than lampposts, for example.
We had a fantastic example yesterday. We were in a class yesterday, and a student actually said, because we invited a group to go and see homeless people on Tuesday, and one of them said, I see homeless people every day, but I didn't want to look at them. Just that they're there, you can see them, but to actually look at them, yeah, it hurt. It's uncomfortable to look at them, and it was fantastic because this actually came from the mouth of somebody who did not go. So we had 11, 12 people come, but it was one of the girls who did not go. She said, I did not want to go because I see them every day, but I don't want to look at them. That's what we have to get past that. We have to look at them. And one of the things that we are fighting to do with them is to give them some identity back, to give them a name. One of the things we discovered, we had a revelation maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I sat down and thought, do you know I know the name of 1, 2, 3, 4 indigentes, and I know Felipe knows the actual names of 1, 2, or 3, or 4 indigentes. Probably all of us know the name of 1 or 2 indigentes. That means all the people in Armenia know the names of the 1,200 people out there, but we never use their names. We just say indigentes. It's like rats, it's like pigs, it's like dogs. We just treat them like a group of animals, and we forget they are people with names, with families. They all have mothers and fathers, or had mothers and fathers.
And for people, it's always easier to just turn their heads away from the problem and pretend it doesn't exist. And I think that's what we all do here. And it's time for that paradigm to change, and for those old, outdated ways of reacting against problems. We cannot just go on like that.
And you have here you have a society where people who live middle class and up, they live in condominiums, they live in big houses. They don't see the problem the same as the lower class people do. And it is the more powerful people that can change. They can change the laws, they can change the things that we do, they can help financially, but they are not seeing the same problems that we do, that the people who live in the city, the people who live in the south. So we need to start talking to them. We need to start opening people's eyes and maybe taking them along to see the problem. Maybe taking videos and showing them what this problem, how big this problem is.
And how many people are involved in your organization?
We have to be careful not to laugh now. It's two of us, really. The reality is there are two of us. We have 640 supporters on Facebook, but the reality is there are two of us. Every time we need to do something, it's him or it's me. And we understand that, and it's this not wanting to look. We have people who say, their conscience says, I want to help, I want to help, I want to help. And they maybe come and meet with us one time, and we say, can you do this for us? And they go away, and nothing happens.
Never to be seen again.
And it's not just one person, so if anybody is seeing this, don't feel guilty. It's everybody, it's everybody. For us, it's now a vocation. It's our passion. We put every penny that we have into this. We have no money for ourselves, we just do this. So we realize in the future, if we have a rehabilitation center or something, we will have to pay people to work there. So originally we thought, hey, we will have volunteers, people will want to come and help. No. They don't want to come and help. If it was a different type of problem, then maybe they would. But I think this problem is so big, it's so disgusting. People are not sympathetic towards it, and we recognise that. We recognise it. Homeless people on the streets smell. They look bad. They are bad for tourism. We see that side of it. We see the sort of Nazi point of view. We see it as well. We don't give money to poor people in the streets. We don't like it when they come to us. It's uncomfortable for us as well. We are not two people. We're not like Mother Teresa. We don't just say, oh, they're beautiful, wonderful people. No, they smell. They are disgusting. They need to have a bath. They need to clean their teeth. That's what we want to do. We want to give them a toothbrush. We want to give them toothpaste. We want to give them clean clothes, a shower, cut their hair, some dignity. Yeah.
How do you get the money for those things?
We have to teach. we have to just. It's just our normal money. We would love to get more money from other people, but at the moment it's impossible. When we have a center, when somebody gives us a building where we can use, then we can start to say to people, okay, give us some beds, give us some sheets, give us some food, give us some plates, give us some medical help. But at the moment, it's just Felipe enough.
Yeah, the thing is that, well, right now with the money that we can come up with, both Ian and me, we sort of do campaigns. We work with this creative laboratory called Spinner X Lab, and we work mainly on publicity and bringing awareness to the problem. But you know, there's a point where our money can take us. You know, to go beyond that point, we would need funding from you know, government authorities or private companies maybe, or things like that. But at the moment, with our resources, there's so much we can do.
And we've discovered some strange rules. For instance, public services or public the administration in our first year. They cannot give us money in our first year. So we are an ONG, we have been an ONG since February. They are not permitted to give us money for 12 months. So we have to be privately funded for 12 months. We cannot ask for money from the public, from the administration. So there are a lot of rules and regulations we are discovering. We've made a lot of friends in the political world, but we've also discovered that it's true about politicians. Politicians don't tell you the truth all the time. They tell you what they want to tell you, and they tell you what you want to hear. And that's disappointing for us, because we think we find a friend, and then we discover we've found another politician. But we're fighting. That's why I say at the beginning, all we are doing is fighting, and fighting, and fighting.
Okay, and how can people help you? I mean, by donations or...
They can help with donations, that would be fantastic. At the moment we're asking for support, just support. And anybody can approach us and give us donations if they wish, because every penny would help us.
Doesn't matter if it's money. For example, can I give you clothes and...
Yes, one of the ideas we have for raising money is to hold a thing in English is called a jumble sale, but I think you would probably call it a bazaar, and so people donate good quality second-hand items, and then we sell those items, and that's the money that we can put into the bank. But then you have to remember, where do we have this bazaar? If it's raining, we need to have cover. You see, we need so much support all the way along the line. We can't do it here, because if it rains, what will happen to the clothes? We need the tables for the clothes. It's so easy to talk about raising money, but it's actually very difficult to do. You need money to raise money. So we're working on that.
Okay.
Well, do you remember a different experience, or like a meaningful experience doing this?
We've had many. Like you give me goosebumps, because we've had many. There have been times where we just hug each other because a day is so fantastic, and then other days we want to cry because the day is so bad. We both believe in destiny. That is, our religion is destiny. When we have bad days, we say, there's a reason why we are having this bad day. And then usually, later in the day, something fantastic happens, and we go, oh my God. Yesterday, our printer would not work. We were trying to print some letters to raise money, and the printer would not work. And he was going crazy, saying, this printer. And I said, hey, there's a reason for this. Maybe if the printer worked, we would print the letters, we would walk out the door, and maybe a truck would come and kill us or something. There is a reason for this. So we had to change our plans. And we went a different way. We only had 3 letters instead of 6 letters. So we took a different route. We walked past the newspaper, La Cronica, and I said, hey, we have time. Let's go into La Cronica. In 1 minute, we were talking to a reporter, and he's going to write a report on this Tuesday. So he was like, send me photographs, send me information. Yes. Next Tuesday, I will write something in La Cronica. We were like, oh my God.
Had the printer not been broken,
if the printer had not broken, So destiny is our God at the moment. And we had on Tuesday, when we went to meet the homeless people. When I write about my experience in Colombia and with homeless people, I arrived at 1 o'clock 5 years ago. I arrived at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At approximately 1:30, I gave my first coin, 200 pesos, limosna, to a boy in the street. We were in the street on Tuesday. We talked to 9 people, and that boy walked around the corner. I couldn't believe the first boy I gave money to was one of the boys that we could talk to on Tuesday, and I could 5 years ago. So, of the 1,200 people I meet, the first homeless boy that I saw. So it's good. Those are the good things. Something good like that happens.
What happens with those people, with those homeless who don't want the rehabilitation?
Who don't want
the rehabilitation?
I think we spoke to 9 people in total on Tuesday, and there was one man who said he was happy. I wish we had the photographs and you could see his face. The man was not happy. He said he was happy to be in the street, and they talked to him for about 30 minutes, I would guess. And his story is, he's from Cali, he's got 2 children, he's been on the street for I think 2 years, I think he said. And his story was, he did something wrong. He's running away. That's why he wants to stay on the street. He's scared to go back to Cali because he thinks the police will do something to him. Now, that sounds like a negative story to us, but we sit down and we talk about these things. I say, hey, you know something? we probably maybe need to think about amnesty, because maybe to get some people from the streets, we need to give an amnesty for low crimes. Maybe there are people who think, I can't go back, I can't do this, I can't do this, because the police will do something. But if you could contact them and say, hey, let's just check, you didn't kill anybody, you were not violent, you maybe stole some money, hey look, 2 years, you've been on the streets for 2 years, that's sufficient punishment. You can come back. Yeah, that's one less on the streets. So it was bad what he was saying, but it gave us another idea, and that's how we get ideas. We don't just take things, in English we say on face value. We go behind the words that the people say, because that's the secret to this. There's not just one answer. There were 9 people with 9 different stories and 9 solutions on Tuesday, which means there are 1,200 stories and 1,200 solutions.
You know, and I want to go back to the flaw in our culture, the one I mentioned earlier. You know, for us, it's easier to sleep at night thinking that there are people who live that way because they want to sleep that way, and they go like, you know, okay, so they want to sleep that way, fine, it works for me, it works for them, whatever, and then you go to bed at ease, you know? But, you know, like Ian was saying, we should not take things at face value like that, you know? There's a whole more to one story that you guys can imagine, you know?
And the same, it's easy for us to say they're all drug addicts. One of the people we found is a drug addict. He was actually taking heroin, crack, when he was giving the interview. Do you know where he became an addict? In Barcelona, in Spain. Not in Colombia. He came here as an addict from Barcelona. A Colombian there on holiday. So we have this image that all homeless people are injecting and taking drugs. He learned the problem in this civilized country. Yeah, exactly. So it's not our attitude to drugs is also very liberal. Many times I have said, if I have to sleep on the street for more than 2 nights, I think I would be sniffing glue.
And I'm pretty sure everyone is.
I think because it's now synonymous with homelessness is drugs. What would you do? Well, you don't have money to have a whiskey or a beer,
let alone eat.
Yes, exactly. You have done that. The monster is okay for food and everything, but you are living in shit and piss and sleeping in the rain. I think I would take drugs in that situation. How would you live? How could you survive if you could not go into another world? So we have to be careful with drugs. Drugs is a problem around the world. United States has a huge problem with drugs, but those people live in houses. Great Britain has a huge problem with drugs, but those people live in houses. This is the difference here. We've got these people living on the streets. We don't know their names. We have no control over them. Drug addicts in my country go to the doctor and they are being treated for their addictions. Yeah, they are helping them. Their families help them. They have interventions. But we don't have people sleeping on the streets like dogs. Yeah?
How many people have you helped in this process?
0. Is the answer to your, is the simple answer to your question, 0. But when we walk around the university now, walking around the streets, people come up to us, they recognize our photograph from Facebook, they recognize the reports, and the awareness that we've created in the last 4 months is staggering. Staggering. There are people who are now talking about homelessness. So the real answer to your question is many people. But physically, 0 people, because we don't have a homeless center. We don't have a way of actually physically taking this problem with this person with a problem and helping him. We don't have that support of the government yet. We don't have that support of industry yet. But by people talking about the problem, by people including, there are other groups doing this for their work in the unit. This is fantastic for us. You know, you're not talking about football. You're not talking about Shakira. You're talking about an ugly, horrible problem. That's fantastic for us. So the real answer is many people.
You want to be. I have seen an organization that works near to my house. They didn't have support of the government and they had to close
Yes.
because they couldn't even eat. They didn't eat, they went out and tried to sell some candies, vegetables and something like that, and nobody buys.
We can understand that. We can understand that. This is it's apathy of the people that we have to overcome. We have to attack this problem from 100 different directions. We can't simply put 50 people in a house and say, oh, that's it, they're fine now. You have to feed them. They have to have clothes. They have to have water, electricity, beds, sheets, detergent, jobs. Yeah, that's what we've been working before we started talking. We worked for 6 months just on the theory, thinking of what will happen with this, what will happen with this, what will happen with this. We have this wonderful marco logico, which is just like a little map of this goes to this goes to this. This affects this, this affects this. And it's a piece of paper and it's just full of, if you do this, this will happen. If you do this, this will happen. If you do this. And the connections between one thing that you can't imagine that can be connected to that. But we can find a way. We can always find a way that you can connect two
apparently separate.
Yeah, apparently separate things, and I think that is the secret. There is a house called Pellegrini, and this one man. He has no money from the government. He's just one man, but he's very lucky because he has a big house. And he put many beds in it, and he opens the door every night. He lets people come and stay. They sleep. Some of the people he trusts stay. They clean. They help him with the washing of the sheets and the cleaning of the place. But then they all go. But he has many old people. They're not drug addicts. You know, he would not have people sitting there injecting in his house. We know there is a section of the society that does need help. We want to do that. We want to do what Peregrine does, but we want the full backing of everybody else. The university is prepared to help us with pasantías, so that psychology students, medical students, teachers can come to our centre and help to re-educate, to cure, to rehabilitate and help these people go back into society. Not just go back on the streets tomorrow. We don't want them to go back on the street. We want them to come and live in the home. So when they're in the house, until they have a job, until they can be self-sufficient, they live there. That's what we want to do. So it's not just a place to sleep.
And I think here it's important to mention that this is something that we must change from the way we view this problem. You know, it's not Teccho's problem, it's not the alcaldía's problem, it's not La Ciudad's problem. It's our problem, everybody's problem, because we all have families, right? Well, maybe some of us have brothers, sisters, uncles, cousins, and all of them can become homeless people if they make the wrong decision. We all make wrong decisions every day. For as long as we've been alive, we've made wrong decisions. Some of them don't have consequences that last for a long time, you know.
But they could have done. But they could have done. We use this example. We use a couple of examples. How many times have you've been out in the evening and you have maybe 4,000 for your taxi and you spend it and you walked home? You could have got killed that night. You could have got killed that night because you were stupid enough to spend the 4,000. But you didn't because you're here now. How many times have you crossed the road without looking at the traffic? You could have been killed. That's what these people have done. They did one stupid thing, and they're paying for it for all of their lives. And you have all done one stupid thing, and you were lucky. Yeah? That's what we've got to recognise. Why is their mistake so costly, and your mistake isn't? Yeah. You know, the same with the. You may not have been killed, but you could end up as a paraplegic, and then someone else, your parents, would be caring for you for the next 40 years or 50 years in a wheelchair, bathing you, yeah, providing food for you. You give that problem to someone else. We are all capable of these stupid decisions. And it may be that they take drugs for the first time, but maybe it was their brother who said, try the drugs. Maybe it was their best friend who said, no problem, just try it, it's fun. Yeah, they were just... who is to say that somebody who's 12 years old makes a bad decision, or 20 years old, or 30 years old? We all have different moments when we're weak, or when we're stupid. Or maybe we just have bad luck. Maybe the bad decision one day was to... somebody had to walk to work, they arrived late at work, and they were fired. They lost their job, and they couldn't get another job. After that, how do they pay the rent? How do they get the food? The landlord comes and says, you don't pay the rent, you have to go. They're on the street. You know, one stupid decision. They arrived, or they woke up late. The alarm clock didn't work. It doesn't have to be a bad decision. Sometimes it can be just plain bad luck.
So it is not a problem which is caused only by drug addiction, but
absolutely. We think that
way more complex than that.
Yeah.
Way more complex than that.
We think the drug addiction probably not in all cases, because you can never generalize, but the drug addiction probably comes after the homelessness. We met we met some people who were very eloquent on the streets on Tuesday, and you could see in their eyes they were not drug addicts. They were not. But you can imagine that in time they are going to go, you know something, I can't sleep, I can't think, I can't take this anymore. And these three people, they're sitting there happy, and I'm miserable. Why are they happy? Oh, they're taking drugs. Okay, give me some of that, I'll try that. And then they start smiling. Yeah. Necessity. Probably is necessity. That's the difference between drug use in the United States and in Europe. Drugs there are for fun. I think drugs here are almost necessity. That's sad to say. Almost necessity, I think.
And finally, what advice give you to the people who
are listening to you?
Yeah, or the people who ignore that problem and who just walk away and...
I would ask people to open their eyes and to look at the problem. That's really the biggest thing. When you can recognize the problem, then you can start to change the way that you handle that problem. But just simply looking away doesn't help. It doesn't help. But I think if I had an opportunity to talk to people, I would say to them, just check your own lives, check your brothers, check your cousins. Make sure there's somebody there that's not going to fall into this world. That's something we have to stop. There are two sides to this. We have to reduce the homeless people in the streets, but we have to stop more coming on the top. So I would say to everybody, respect your parents. If your parents say to you, you have to be home at 2 o'clock, get home at 2 o'clock. If you see that your brother is disrespecting your parents, talk to your brother. There are many ways to attack this problem. Yeah? So stop other people making those mistakes. And maybe if you're out with somebody and you see somebody spending their last 4,000 pesos, stop them. Put them in a taxi, send them home. Yeah? Stop people from making that one mistake. That is just as useful. It's just as useful as taking another person off the street. Because then if we can take somebody off the street, the number will start to come down. Because we're not adding on the top all the time. Yeah? Two points of attack.
And do you want to add something?
for people who say, there's nothing we can do about it, the system is not going to change, and it's pretty much going to be the same problem all over again, I would say we are very near a point, in our culture, I'm talking about Colombian culture, we're near a point of change. Ideas are changing, ways of doing things are changing, and just because we have a huge problem that hasn't been able to be solved in the past doesn't mean it's going to be solved. The message I personally would like to put across here to people that say we cannot do anything about it, they're drug addicts, they chose to live that way, that can always change, and all that is needed for that change to happen is a little bit of love, a little bit less apathy, a little bit less of turning our heads away from the problem because we just don't want to see it, and we think that's the solution and that's going to make us sleep tight at night. Like Ian said, it's time we start looking directly at the problem, and we start thinking about these people as humans, not as lampposts, not as bags of garbage on the street, something that you just kick out of the way to continue walking. These are actually human beings. These people are somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's uncle, somebody's father.
And Tuesday, somebody's grandfather. We gave him bread and he didn't eat it. He said, I'll take this to my grandchildren. 56 years old grandfather on the streets.
Is it time we start keeping that in mind?
One last question. How do you see this project in, let's say, in 2 or 5 years?
Great question. Ooh, we have dreams. Yeah, we have big dreams. I would love to come back here in 2 years' time and tell you back in 2 years' time and tell you we have a centre that's open, we have money arriving from all around the world, people are supporting us, we have micro-industries, we have people working, we have people rehabilitating from drugs and living in their own homes. That's our dream. We have to have that dream. If we did not have that dream, we wouldn't be sitting here now. We are not doing this for fun. This is not fun. We want to cry most days. So this is not fun. There are other ways to spend our time and have fun. This is not fun. So we have to have this dream that one day we're going to see some happy faces.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for listening. Okay. Any questions, you call. If you think of something afterwards, you call me or send me an email, and we'll send it. If you find you have a space, you don't have an answer, just ask us and we'll give you the information.
We are going to give them the